Hey, what's up, you guys? WWE fan 0599 here again, and today we're going to review Ghostbusters 2. So, Ghostbusters 2 stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ernie Hudson, Sigourney Weaver, and Rick Moranis. And what this film is about, it takes place 5 years after the events of the original Ghostbusters, and the Ghostbusters is being in check, basically. They don't know whether or not they should trust the Ghostbusters, because after the destruction that happened in the first movie, they don't know if they're really capable of trying to save, New York. But when strange things start to happen again, it's up to the Ghostbusters to save the day again. So, what did I think of Ghostbusters 2? This is a very mixed sequel when it comes to many fans. Either people really like it, or, find it just meh, or just completely hate it, which, where am I on that side? You know what? I really enjoy it. Ghostbusters 2 is a really enjoyable sequel. I don't really get the hate with Ghostbusters 2. It's still a fun sequel, sure. It's not as great as the first movie, absolutely not. I don't think it can ever beat what they did with the first movie, but I still really enjoyed Ghostbusters 2. It's still a really fun sequel. So let's get into my positives. And my positives are the acting with the film. The acting is still really good with the movie. Bill Murray is still great as, Dr. Peter Venkman. He's still great. I still really enjoy him in the film. Bill Murray is still great as Dr. Peter Venkman, and I still really enjoy him in the film. Same goes for Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd is still really enjoyable in the film as well. I really enjoyed Dan Aykroyd as well. Same goes for Harold Ramis. Harold Ramis was still good in the movie. Ernie Hudson as well, still really enjoyed him. Sigourney Weaver was still great. And Rick Moranis was still great. So yeah, everyone was still really enjoyable. Still liked everybody in the film. The comedy is really good for the most part. The comedy is really good for the most part in the film. I think the comedy does work for the most part in the film. There's still chemistry between all of the characters. Like, every single Ghostbuster still has chemistry with each other. And it's still there, in my opinion, in this film. And it's just great. I love the chemistry between all of the characters in the movie. The writing's really good. The writing is really good with the film. The directing is still great with the movie. It's directed by, of course, Ivan Reitman, who came back to direct the second movie, which is a good thing for the most part. I mean, not every single time you get the original director to come back to direct the sequel is not usually the best thing. I mean, look at Zoolander 2. Ben Stiller came back to direct the second one, and that was a complete hot mess. But here, it was a good thing, and Ivan Reitman still did a really good job directing the film. The pacing was really good with the movie. The movie did move at a pretty good pace, in my opinion. Now, the negatives that I do have with this movie are, first being that it does kind of feel like, at parts, a rehash of the original. Like, there are some moments where I feel like, okay, this does kind of feel like a rehash of the original. I know that was a lot of people's problem with the sequels, that it did feel like a rehash of the first movie. But there were moments where I felt like that. I was like, okay, you're just kind of rehashing the first movie. Some of the comedy really doesn't work in this movie at parts. There are some times where I felt like really it didn't really work, in my opinion, some of the comedy in the film. And finally, the effects really don't look that great in this movie. It's weird when the movie that came out in 1984, movie that came out 5 years before this, had better effects than the one that came out 5 years later in 1989. But it's just weird, and the effects really don't look that great in this movie. But guys, I really enjoy Ghostbusters 2. Like I said, I don't really get the hate with the sequel. It's still a fun and enjoyable sequel. Like I said, it is as good as the original. No, the original is something special. You can never recreate what they did with that original. I'm looking at you, Ghostbusters reboot. Stop! Stop! But Ghostbusters 2 is still a really enjoyable sequel, and I still really enjoy it. It's still enjoyable. So it's time for my official grade on Ghostbusters 2, and my official grade on Ghostbusters 2 is a B+. It's a really enjoyable sequel. I still have a ton of fun watching it. You know, still a very good sequel, and it will still be better than the reboot. That's all I'm saying. That's all we'll know, is that this sequel will still be better than that Anyways, what did you guys think of Ghostbusters 2? Leave in the comment section below. I'm WWE Fan 0599, and we will see you about later. Peace.